usajobs.gov where you submitted your application, but did you hear about this position from your friends or LinkedIn or Handshake? Uh-huh. Ah, the school was mentioned to them. That's cool. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Yeah, our associate. Oh, I hear myself, and that's kind of painful. Our associate provost is asking for this information. That's why we're asking for it. Yes. Okay. Well, now let me walk you through the interview process. Um, each, okay, I don't know why I hear myself. Do you hear me twice as well or no?
Yes, I do. Something is
Yes, I
echoing.
do.
Yeah, everybody's hearing it kind of like twice. I wonder what's going on. Hmm.
Maybe Mr. Kim has another gadget of it, not muted.
Do you have a headset or earphones that you could use, Mr. Kim?
No, only when we speak.
The sound is coming from you, actually.
No worries, no worries.
Yep. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Mhm. Nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm ready. Okay, so I'm supposed to answer in English if it's asked in English. Is that correct? Okay. So my background as a teacher, so I not only my academic background, but I was born and raised in Korea, and then my whole family moved to Chicago when I was 14. And then when I got there, I spent another 14 years in Chicago, and that's where I got my teaching credential, and I graduated from college, and I had some high school math teaching experience there. And it was 2009 when I came back to Korea. Initially, it was just for 1 year to teach English here, and then that's when I met my wife and I got married. And since 2009 until today, I'm staying in Korea and I have had different teaching jobs and other positions at educational companies. Um, so I have a very diverse experience in terms of language acquisition and even culturally. So I think I would be a good candidate for the position at DLI because that's what you value. You value diversity and then culturally and linguistically proficient students. And also, I think I've seen your missions and visions and the values that you have, and they align perfectly with my personal values because I really value respect and I value flexibility and how and I also believe in growth mindset. I'm a huge advocate of a growth mindset, which basically means that you can grow and you can achieve the things you're not really good at if you keep trying, and that you can learn from mistakes, as opposed to a fixed mindset where people believe that you are born with abilities and born with um, your positive aspects and you only need to pursue that dream. So I am open to try new things. I'm open to try different areas. And I also encourage my students. I've always been encouraging my students to fail constantly so that you can learn from them. So at DLI, I believe I would be a good instructor and a good mentor for my students because um, I can provide different experiences and different perspective to my students. And I also love your um, approach to learning. So I really love the idea of mock villages and then language day and then no English policy and things like that because I really believe in immersive learning experience and learning environment. I tried that here in Korea multiple times, and sometimes I failed miserably because the students in Korea lacked discipline. I think that was the main reason. But I believe at DLI, almost every individual has the discipline over motivation. So I think this immersive learning environment is going to work, and I'm excited to try and be a part of it. And no, that was the end of my part. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so um, in terms of my personality, I've always been a very logical and um, I'm not easily swayed by emotion, which used to be a problem for me because I would say things that are factual, but that are not very empathetic to my students. But over the years, as I taught many students in America and in Korea, I learned that stating the facts is not as important as feeling empathy for them and then understanding where they are and what they're going through. Mm. So I've read a lot of psychology books and how to communicate with students, even with parents. And I think I've grown over the years. I've grown professionally in terms of communicating with my students, especially when they go through hard times. So I was actually in the beginning of my teaching career, I was known as a fun and difficult teacher. But recently, I quit my teaching job, and my students told me I was the most empathetic teacher they had, which was surprising for me. So when the students are going through a hard time, I think it's important that I acknowledge their pain and their emotional states, um, so that they can trust me. So building trust, I think, is the most important thing. And if there's anything I can help, in terms of like giving them a break, or giving extensions, things like that, I'd be happy to do it. Um, as long as they have proven to be disciplined and they're trustworthy. Um, and in terms of creating a um, encouraging, including and understanding learning environment, um, this is one thing I learned in college, undergraduate college, where I was trying to become a teacher, and there was one professor who told me that, um, even though the kids are not behaving well, they disappoint you time and time over and over. There's always one thing you can find positive about this person, about this student, and that stuck. I really took that to my heart, and it doesn't matter how negatively they behave and how much hard time they give me. I always try to find one positive thing about the student, and I encourage them and I give them compliments on that part constantly. And I've noticed that even though they hated me in the beginning, I hated this person in the beginning. I give them compliments over and over, and then I give them high expectations and I don't change in that, they start to trust me and then they start to work with me. And hopefully I've made significant impact in their lives. And a lot of the parents and the students told me that this actually happened and they're appreciative about that. So building a positive learning environment, I think is very important. And I can do that, like I said, through building trust and then giving them high expectations, and then constantly praising for the things that they are good at, instead of focusing on the negatives too much. Yeah. Okay. So in terms of conflicts, I would like to share a little my personal experience in high school. So in high school, I was a student whose first language was Korean, is Korean, and but I got to be close to the second generation Koreans at my high school. It was a big high school. It was about 4,000 students. And among those 4,000 students, 200 people were Koreans, and where only maybe like 30 people are non-native English speaking Koreans, and I was one of them. So there was a huge conflict between the Korean Koreans and Korean Americans. But because I got so close and made friends with the second generation Koreans, I always took the role as a mediator whenever there was a conflict arising between these two groups. So I would eat lunch with like Koreans, and then I would take classes with Korean Americans, and I got to spend my afternoon activities. And so when I went to church, I would make spend more time with Korean American friends. So by the time I was a senior, the conflicts were I didn't see any conflicts, or at least like officially, or a very serious conflict between these two groups. And people, whenever there was a problem, they would come to me to tell me about what's going on, and then I would talk to them individually and resolve the conflict. Unfortunately, after I graduated, I heard from my other friends. They started like a lot of arguments, and um, like sometimes violent conflicts arose again, right? So that ex oh, yeah, to stop me. Okay. Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So as I was working at international school in Korea, there was a conflict between this male teacher and the female supervisor. And I was part of the team where I had a different idea with the male teacher, and I agreed with the female supervisor. And so the male teacher came to me and complaining about the situation. It was actually about how to approach students. There was a big event at school, and he wanted to do things more systematically and more thoroughly prepare. And the female supervisor uh, wanted everybody to see the big picture and then not cling on to the little tiny details. Um, so I actually talked to this male teacher, and then I convinced him that um, the little details can be taken care of, but it's not very wise to speak it out in a group setting. So I told him to maybe talk to the supervisor more privately. So in that moment, so the outcome was that it was resolved, and we did the event. It was nice, and it was almost perfect. And I recognize his details and everything. But the one thing I would change is that I told him, instead of empathizing with him, I told him this has to be done. So I think you should change your behavior, the way you approach and talk to the supervisor. I think you should change that. I was very direct. So like I said about how to deal with students who are emotional, I think I could have been more empathetic about the male teacher. Okay. 네. MZ 세대들에 대해서는 장점도 있고 좀 단점도 있다고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 먼저 장점으로는 말씀하신 것처럼 디지털 네이티브이기 때문에 새로운 것을 배우거나 그리고 기계를 다루는 것에 매우 익숙합니다. 그래서 저는 학교에서 가르칠 때에도 뭐 쉽게는 칸 아카데미부터 시작해서 뭐 카헛이라든지 그리고 여러 가지 온라인 프로그램과 그리고 기계들을 다루는 활동을 늘 수업 시간에 집어넣었고요. 이것은 학교의 방침으로 정해져 있지 않은 거였기 때문에 제가 스스로 공부하고 스스로 익혀서 셋업을 다 하고 주변의 선생님들에게 이제 구글 클래스룸과 칸 아카데미를 사용하는 방법도 알려주고 아이들에게도 그런 사용하는 그런 비디오를 만들어서 주기도 하고 학부모님들에게도 이런 것들의 장점을 소개하기도 하고 그래서 이런 식으로 학교를 조금 더 디지털 프렌들리 하도록 만드는 역할을 했었고요. 이게 굉장히 빛을 발했던 것은 이제 코로나가 왔을 때 굉장히 빠르게 학교가 온라인 프로그램으로 전환할 수 있었던 장점이 있었습니다. 그리고 학생들도 어, 그 온라인 프로그램을 통해서 학습을 하면 굉장히 눈에 그 시선을 집중하게 만드는 여러 가지 게임 요소들이 많이 있기 때문에 배지도 주고 동영상도 있고 그리고 여러 가지 효과도 있고 학습을 오랫동안 유지하는데 분명히 도움이 된다는 생각이 들었고 특히 어려움을 겪는 학생들에게 그 초반의 벽을 넘어가는 데 굉장히 큰 도움을 주었습니다. 한 가지 아쉬운 점은 너무 게임에 익숙해져 있는 아이들이다 보니 그런 친구들이다 보니 그 쇼츠에 익숙해져 있기 때문에 조금 긴 영상을 보거나 오랫동안 앉아서 공부를 하는 것에 익숙치 않은 경우들이 있습니다. 그래서 그런 친구들에게는 또 다른 방법으로 그 디지털에서 조금 멀어져서 책을 가지고 공부할 수 있는 환경을 또 마련해 주기도 했었고요. 그리고 어텐션 스팬이 짧다고 느껴지기 때문에 이런 부분을 조금씩 늘려가는 그런 방침을 사용했었는데요. DLI에 있는 학생들은 제가 기대하는 바로는 그 디서플린이 훨씬 잘 돼 있기 때문에 온라인으로 수업을 하더라도 조금 더 자기가 명확한 목표를 가지고 조금 찐득하게 공부할 수 있는 그런 모습들을 볼 수 있기를 기대하고 있습니다. 네. 네, 일단 첫 번째로는 그 DLI에서 하고 있다고 제가 알고 있는 그 immersive 교육, 그러니까 생활 전반적으로 이제 한국어를 쓸 수밖에 없는 환경을 만들어주는 것이 저는 가장 효과적이라고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 한국에서 한국 사람들이 저에게 영어를 어떻게 잘할 수 있나요라고 물어보면, 어, 반 농담으로 미국에 가세요. 가야 합니다. 라고 말을 했는데요. 그 말은 아무리 내가 1시간 동안 열심히 공부를 해도 그 언어를 나머지 23시간 동안 쓰지 않게 되면 그 언어가 늘 수가 없고 배운 것을 금방 잊어먹기 때문입니다. 그래서 한국 아이들이 다른 언어를 배울 때 굉장히 힘든 경험을 많이 하는데요. 그래서 DLI에서 하고 있는 이머시브 교육이 조금 더 자주 일어날 수 있고 조금 더 체계적으로 일어날 수 있도록 하면 좋을 것 같다는 생각이 첫 번째로 들고요. 그리고 두 번째는 다양한 멀티미디어를 사용하는 겁니다. 그래서 우리가 이머시브 교육을 만든다고 하지만 한국으로 보낼 수는 없기 때문에 한국과 같은 느낌이 들 수 있고 한국의 문화를 다양한 방법으로 체험할 수 있는 뭐 영화나 아니면 노래나 아니면 뉴스나 여러 가지 방송 프로그램들을 가지고 같이 이것들을 경험하게 하고 또 분석하게 하고 또 자기의 말로 표현해 보게 하는 이런 멀티미디어를 사용하는 방법이 두 번째이고요. 그리고 세 번째는 많은 이제 교육학자들이 얘기하는 바로는 우리가 무언가를 배울 때 가장 좋은 방법, 그리고 가장 높은 단계에 있는 방법은 스스로 가르쳐 보는 것입니다. 그래서 단순히 패시브하게 듣기만 하는 것이 아니고, 뭐 여러 가지 액티비티도 하고 시험도 보고 하는 것들이 다 의미가 있지만, 내가 직접 배운 것을 다른 사람에게 가르쳐 보는 그 경험을 하는 것이 이걸 진짜 내 것으로 만들고 오랫동안 기억에 남게 하는, 그 장기 기억으로 넘어가게 하는 매우 좋은 방법이라는 것을 저는 경험적으로 알고 있기 때문에 발표를 넘어서 가르쳐보는 그런 시간들을 많이 만들어주고자 합니다. 이상입니다. 네, 뭐 제가 실제로 해봤던 것 중에는 특정한 날을 만드는 활동을 한 적이 있습니다. 그래서 예를 들면 뭐 마켓 데이라고 만약에 한다면 우리가 물건을 사고 파는 연습을 할 때 실제로 그런 현장처럼 만들어서 일단 첫 번째로는 우리가 만약에 한국어를 배우고 있다고 하면 영어를 사용하지 않는 그런 약속을 서로 하고, 그리고 그 사전에 필요한 표현들을 많이 반복적으로 배우고, 그리고 이 표현들을 어떻게 조금씩 바꿀 수 있는지까지도 훈련을 하고 나서, 이 실제로 뭔가 물건을 사고 팔 수 있는 한국에서 물건을 사고 파는 환경을 만들어 줍니다. 그래서 벽에 뭔가를 붙여 놓기도 하고, 정말 필요한 부분들은, 이제 그 발음을 그 영어를 읽어볼 수 있도록 만들어주기도 하고, 그리고 다양한 영상과 사진들을 배치 놓기도 하고, 해가지고 이런 것들이 내가 정말 여기에 와 있는 듯한 시뮬레이션 할 수 있는 그런 느낌을 주는 겁니다. 그래서 이 친구들이, 이 언어를 배우는 친구들이 그 영어를 사용하지 않고도 한국말을 충분히 말할 수 있는 기회를 주는 것이고, 그리고 제가 또 한 가지 시도했던 것 중에 재밌었던 것은 무엇이냐면, 제가 선생님으로서 특정 아이들에게 쪽지를 줍니다. 그리고 그 쪽지에는 어떤 돌발 상황이 적혀 있어요. 예를 들면 내가 식당에 와서 밥을 먹고 있는 환경이었는데 식당에 머리카락이 들어있을 경우에 너는 어떤 말을 할 것이고 어떻게 컴플레인을 할 것인지 아닌지, 또 어떻게 이 문제를, 이 상황을 해결할 것인지, 이런 미션들, 돌발 미션들을 주게 됩니다. 그러면 처음에는 그 학생들이 굉장히 버벅거리고 쭈뼛쭈뼛대고 하는 친구들도 있고, 어떤 친구들은 말이 안 되는 언어를 가지고 뭔가를 해보려고 하는 친구들도 있고, 그래서 그런 것들을 수업이 끝나고 나서 같이 얘기를 나눠보고 어떤 것이 가장 좋은 방법이고 어떤 단어와 어떤 문장이 가장 적합한지를 얘기해보게 하고 난 후에 다음에 또 비슷한 활동을 하면 훨씬 잘하게 됩니다. 네. Uh, I have a lot of questions actually, but I can, but okay. Um, so if I do get accepted um, to this position, when am I expected to start working? Mm. I was thinking, I was guessing to start the job in the fall semester. Um, yeah, so that was my initial thought. So what's your answer to that? Mhm. Okay. Mhm. Mhm. Okay. 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 So it's not, we don't know for sure yet. So it could be fall semester, it could be next year, spring, right? Oh, okay. Okay. Got it. Mhm. Okay. Can I ask one more question? Um, so the faculty there, where do they live? Do they have like, do they have to just find a place to live and rent a house or around the school? Or is there like a place built for them? Uh, Okay. Okay. Do you have time for one more question? Okay, so I came across the term DLPT, which is I think it's a language proficiency test for the students. So if I start working there, how am I going to be familiar with this type of test and then the test materials? Is there like a training session for me? That's it for me. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. Good night for everybody. Okay, bye bye.